Hey guys, Baddies Africa episode 21 review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Okay, so the episode starts with Summer and Cold K fighting in the club. Summer started it. She threw the bottle at Cold K, and then Cold K picked up what all the liquor sits on and threw that at Summer. So Summer's getting carried out of the club. Natalie is like, y'all need to stop embarrassing me in front of billionaires. And Amber Rose says she's had enough of this. It's too ghetto for her. She will not be staying in the house, and she's going back to her hotel. When Summer comes walking out of the club, getting carried by security, Lex is going to say in her confessional that Summer left with fashion and style. This is the BS I be talking about with Lex, the hypocrisy, and just defending BS and not checking her friends when she know they be dead wrong and out of line. And Fauna basically said once Bummer was taken out of the club, everybody was able to have a good time. Next scene we get is Rolly and Scotty on the balcony. So Scotty and Rolly was twerking, and Rolly was basically saying, yeah, Scotty, I got some ass now too. And Scotty was like, Rolly, you been had ass. Rolly said she had a smash burger booty. It was like a cheeseburger that was smashed. She said now she got a Whopper, and Scotty said she got a Big Mac. So they start talking about Scotty and Lex issues. Scotty basically said Lex want an apology. She's not giving it to her. And Rolly said, I honestly feel like neither one of y'all needs to apologize to the other. Y'all just need to leave it alone. Lex is still stuck on that wig, so she wants Scotty to apologize for ripping it. But at this point, I kind of agree with Rolly. Scotty don't owe her an apology for ripping the wig because, Lex, you had a chance to rip Scotty's wig back if you felt that serious about it. You just had Scotty's wig in your hand on the other episode. And what did you choose to do? Spare her, quote unquote, and throw it over the balcony instead of ripping it back. If you were still mad about your wig getting ripped, you should have just ripped her wig back so we could stop hearing about the bullshit because I'm tired of it. And Rolly and Scotty called out the same thing I've been calling out all season with Lex, how she's a hypocrite. You so mad about Scotty ripping your wig, but you don't care when Pretty P watch gets thrown in the pond by your friend. You don't care when you and your friends are snatching Tavy's chain. And you threw Tavy's wig in the fire, Lex, whether it was an accident or not. You didn't replace that. Then it cuts to DTB, Tavy, Fauna, Cole K, and Pretty P. So Cole K obviously got hit with a bottle by Summer, but Tavy also said she got hit with a bottle. So Pretty P and Diamond was like, oh wait, she threw more than one bottle? Because it's bad enough if you threw one bottle in the club or threw one bottle at somebody at any point. Because like they said, that could take somebody out if you hit them the wrong way. But you throwing multiple bottles and you just hitting random people who you wasn't even arguing with is crazy. And I agree with DTB saying, like, they get bookings outside of the show without Natalie, but people aren't going to want to book them if they attach to the Baddies brand, and people always think that all the Baddies do is come to the club and fight. So I do see why certain people are just leaving the show and continuing to do their bookings, like Tasiki. Especially with the way she fights. She cannot have people thinking anywhere she go, she going to fight. And if she continued to stay attached to Baddies, that's probably what would have happened. Even though we as viewers know she's really not like that. She only fights when necessary. She doesn't pick fights. But that brand of the show at this point is going to become associated with that if it hasn't already. Then we cut back to Rolly and Scotty. Rolly was also saying she almost got hit with a bottle. And Scotty was saying, I don't understand why it's been so many fights in the club this season when that's the whole point of the house meetings. Y'all get everything out the way before y'all go to the club so y'all could be professional. But clearly it's because Natalie's not really putting her foot down every time something happens in the club. There's no repercussions. There's no reprimanding. People are still getting Baddies chains after they've had fights in the club all season. So why would they think the rule is serious? So those two scenes wrap up, and then we cut to this scene with Lex, Summer, and Dolly walking down the street and just talking about everything that's been going on. Now, Dolly actually wasn't too bad for me this episode, but one thing that she said that I didn't like was that she feel like the other girls be trying to have competition in the club. I guess like trying to get more attention than their side in the club. And that's why she feels like the club fights happen. But the first club fight in recent seasons that I feel started it becoming a constant thing is the fight that Dolly and Jayla had in the club. And why did that fight happen? Jayla was on the mic in the middle of the stage with her friends, Anna, Tasiki, etc., and Dolly came over and took the mic from Jayla or started bumping into Jayla, basically trying to get attention from the crowd because she felt like nobody was paying attention to her, Lex, and Summer. So make it make sense. You know, she just contradicting herself as usual. But like a lot of us have said, Dolly, Summer, and Lex have became everything they complained about the OGs doing last season. So that's just another example of it. And Summer talking about in her confessional, she not really feeling like giving Cole K her lick back. I don't think you're going to have a choice after you hit somebody in the head with a bottle. I don't think she's going to give you a choice. And Dolly was asking, do anybody else have any issues that they want to get off their chest, like between the three of them? And Lex basically said the only person she expects to fight before she leaves is Tavy because she feel like Tavy going one another round, obviously, after the whole birthday attack. And Dolly basically says she ain't have no problems except with Ivory, and Ivory's not here. When she see Ivory, Ivory can get that. Unfortunately, we know that Ivory did not attend the reunion, and it doesn't look like Ivory's going to be coming back to Zeus. She kind of fell out with Natalie and Lemmy. So Dolly and Ivory might not ever get that again unless they both return to Now That's TV or they see each other on the street. We also learned in this scene that the big three has come up with 3 rules for their crew: stay cute, dominate, and ain't no bitch taking my job. Like I said, I think the 3 of them together is just, it doesn't work for me, but I feel like they can keep 1 or 2 of them and see what happens next season. But I would not want all 3 of them to return together. I don't like the dynamic. They also talked about Russian and how she didn't come back, and they were basically saying that Russian wasted, her spot. It could have went to somebody else who really wanted to be here. And they also just felt that Russian was really entitled, always complaining, and she was kind of a headache instead of being happy and enjoying the Baddies experience. You auditioned to get on the show. You clearly wanted to get on the show. Now you're here. So why aren't you happy, basically? So from here, we find out that the ladies are going beer tasting, and we see the 2 groups in their cars on their way to the beer tasting. Obviously, group 1 is going to be Summer, Dolly, Lex, Elsie, Latina, and Rolly. And then the second group is going to be DTB, Scotty, Fauna, Cole K, Pretty P, Tavy. So Summer basically says she knows she probably going to have to fight Cole K because of what she did last night. And Cole K said at this point it's past TV beef, it's personal, because when you do something like that, she feel like you trying to take her out. Because you could KILL someone from doing that, like I said. Rolly was asking them what's going on with Russian, and Elsie was like, I don't even know, but at this point, I don't care for her. At this point, I'm just done with her. She said at first it was kind of moderate, but now I don't understand why she's always lying. Like I said, Elsie and Russian are both liars, and they both could have left. And Elsie gonna say in her confessional, she just don't respect that Russian can't defend herself, and she ran home. Elsie, like I said, you grew some balls over this season, and I'll give you your little 2 points for that. You still a punk to me. But, you grew a little bit of balls. I'll give you that. But at the beginning of the season, I will not let you live it down that Cole K, who can't even fight, smacked your glasses off, and you stood there and did nothing and did not get your lick back until 6 episodes later. You don't even defend yourself. And then when you do fight, you be hugging people. Like, you don't even swing. So just stop. So they get to the beer garden. As soon as they get there and Summer's group walks in, because they walk in second, Cole K immediately takes her wig off and charges at Summer. Cole K definitely got that round, so kudos to her. And Summer even admitted that she lost in her confessional, so I don't want to hear anything about it. Because, look right here. Summer is naughty. And Summer gonna say in her confessional, her hand is swole and she really not in the mood, so she just want Cole K to let it go, please. Girl, no. As many beefs as we done seen Summer drag from the beginning of Midwest to now, she's had beef with certain people. She cannot say nothing about nobody letting nothing go. So DTB checked Summer. I was happy that somebody did it. She was like, you went too far throwing that bottle. You could have took somebody out. And it's just unprofessional for the brand. And she told Summer, I'm not even trying to argue with you. Like, I said what I said. I'm not going back and forth. Diamond told Summer to just take accountability and admit that sometimes she does too much. Of course, Summer didn't do that. She said she never does too much. She said the only thing that she will agree to is that she shouldn't be throwing bottles in the club. But when Diamond asked her would she do it again, she did not respond. From there, Rolly was like, I just want to take the time to welcome Pretty P back. You guys know that she left for some family issues, so of course we send our condolences. But now let's talk about what beef she had before she left. And Rolly was like, you had a problem with Summer. Where do you stand on that? Pretty P said, I don't stand nowhere. Now, right before Pretty P left, she ran up on Summer about the watch. And I said I felt like it was kind of delayed because she had went through most of the time that she was there, not really saying nothing to Summer about it after it happened. Natalie said she was going to upgrade the watch and they kind of left it at that. So I felt like she just did that because she wanted some camera time because she knew she was about to leave. If she hadn't done that, I would have said that I felt like I was fine with what she said as far as saying she don't stand nowhere and she don't really got no beef with Summer. But the fact that you did that right before you left, you might as well just do it again now. Because you ain't been doing much this whole season and you've been gone, so you wanted camera time before, get your camera time now. But whatever, Pretty P decided that she didn't want to do anything with Summer. So Summer told Pretty P, sorry for your loss. Pretty P said thank you. But then in her confessional, she was still popping it, saying like she don't like Summer, but she just trying to be cool and end the season like a real baddie. I don't know. Everybody again was talking about how Russian is gone, and Pretty P was saying like what happened, and Rolly said Elsie beat her ass out of the house, and Pretty P was surprised because she was like, oh Elsie, I thought you and Russian was friends. Elsie says she never claimed anybody in the house except for Tavy. Damn, what about Choco? Then Scotty was asking Latina how she felt. She was like, you pretty quiet, you don't got nothing to say. And Latina was like, no, because y'all talking about a bunch of stuff that happened before I got here, so that don't got nothing to do with me. And Scotty said, okay, well, you came in and fought DTB, basically for Natalie. That didn't have nothing to do with you. So Lex said, oh, Latina, you can do what you want. So now Lex is jumping in Scotty's conversation that has nothing to do with her. Let's clock that. But every time Scotty does it to her, she loses her mind. And from there, Rolly was like, okay, y'all really not talking about nothing. So I want to give a shout out to the Baddies and Baddies Africa. We coming to the end of our season. And she's basically just giving a toast. Then they do all this dramatic music and we see Rican coming back in. I'm not going to lie. The way they were showing her, they had her looking like a crackhead. So when Rican came in, Summer was basically saying, you know, she don't know what type of time Rican is on. Rican better be easy. Lex asked Rican how court went. She said everything went fine. Thank you for asking. I did feel like that was nice of Lex, being that her and Rican don't really get along. And then Elsie going to say in her confessional, she's not surprised that the bitch is a jailbird. And it sounded like DTB was clocking Lex T a little bit, though. She was like, oh, you know you be getting mad at people for talking to people they just fought. And Lex and Rican just fought a little while ago before Rican left for court. And she was trying to fight her again over the wig. But now you talking to her. But Lex got mad at Tavy for talking to Fauna off camera right after they fought. Remember? That's what she says. That's the reason that she gives for why she fought Tavy. Then we get Tavy and Lex. They start going back and forth. And Tavy was like, do you know what the definition of copping a plea is? And Tavy was like, copping a plea is if I said something about you and you came to me and pressed me about it. And I said, no, I didn't say that. Me talking to Fauna and having a side conversation after we fought, which has nothing to do with you, is not copping a plea. So she was like, yeah, I just taught you the definition of copping a plea. And that's how we know you're not from the hood. So Rolly was sick of them all talking and arguing back and forth and nobody getting in the paint. So she goes under the table, which cracked me up because I'm like, girl, why did you climb under the table like that when you could have went around the table? I said, Rolly trying to show off her newfound flexibility, child. So she comes under the table and she's basically like, you know what? We're going to go down the line and I'm going to ask every single person if they got a problem or if they want to get in the paint with anybody. Otherwise, y'all can shut up with all this arguing back and forth. That was basically the point of what she was saying. So first she asked Latina, do you have beef with anybody in this facility? Latina said no. So she clearly didn't want to fight DTB again. Then Rolly asked Elsie, do you got a problem with anybody? She said she got a problem with Rican. So Rolly was like, okay, then catch that fade. Rican immediately got up, threw her drink, ran up at Elsie. I'm like, damn, Rican just came back. She ain't even been there for 5 or 10 minutes. Ain't even have her coat off. I feel like Rican got that round. Then Rolly asked Tavy, do she got a problem with anybody? Tavy said, yes, I do. You know I got a problem with Lex. Tavy throws her drink at Lex, drenches Lex with the drink. And this is beer. Remember, they're at a beer tasting. So all these drinks getting thrown are beer. Lex throws a drink back at Tavy. They fight and Tavy loses. But at least she's been standing up to Lex all season. I will give her that. But she has not been winning. And Scotty was in her confessional saying she's tired of seeing Lex and Tavy fight. Is giving boo tomato. I feel like she only feels that way because her friend Tavy keeps losing the fight. If Tavy was winning, Scotty would not be tired of seeing Lex get her ass whooped. And I also feel like at this point, there's nobody to blame for this one because Tavy called it out. Rolly asked Tavy, does she have a problem with anybody? And Tavy said, yes, I want to fight Lex. Lex literally said earlier in the episode, if Tavy didn't want to fight her again, she was fine with them leaving it how it was. So you got to blame your friend for this. She wanted to fight and she lost. So after the first round, Tavy and Lex was kind of just sitting there staring at each other. Lex was still squaring up and she was like, come on, Tavy, you want to go again? You want to go again? And Scotty was like, this is so annoying. And Lex was like, Scotty, shut up before you get it next. So Tavy looked at Scotty and was like, don't worry, Scotty, I got you. Basically saying like, if Lex try to hit Scotty, Tavy's going to jump in. Dolly standing on the table talking about Lex send Tavy to the hospital next. Dolly still mad because Tavy had her bloody. And Dolly was saying in her confessional, you know, she's tired of Scotty inserting herself in stuff that has nothing to do with her. She always coming with her fake ass opinions. Tavy and Lex go for another round. I feel like Tavy did a little bit better that round, but she still lost in my opinion. So Rolly was basically like, you know, do anybody else got a problem? Lex started looking at Fauna and was like, are you done? Fauna was like, are you done? They going back and forth asking each other, are they done? So then Rolly brought up how Fauna got hit with the noodles earlier in the season. And she basically was like, you don't got a problem with getting slapped with them spicy noodles. But Dolly was the one who threw the noodles at Fauna. It wasn't Lex. So from there, Fauna started kind of getting crazy with Lex. And Lex was saying in her confessional, you know, Fauna didn't have no issue with the noodle situation until Rolly brought it up. Now she wants to fight about it. And that happened way back when we were in Cape Town. So I did agree with Lex about that. I feel like Fauna wasn't thinking about the noodles and she wasn't really trying to fight or wanting to fight anybody until Rolly basically said, oh, you got slapped with the noodles, and basically said you need to get your lick back. But from there, Fauna does end up fighting Dolly, who was the person who threw the noodles on her. Beginning of the fight, I feel like Fauna had it, but towards the end, Dolly got it. So I guess you could call that one a draw. But then they do have a second round, which Dolly definitely got. She ran up on Fauna. Now Dolly's losing her mind, picking up chairs, trying to throw them at Fauna. She done took her shirt off. Child. And Tavy was basically saying she don't understand why Fauna is fighting with Dolly and Lex about these noodles that's a month old. And you know Fauna's her friend, but she's confused just like we are. Like, why y'all bringing this back up? Now, the second round that Fauna and Dolly had, like I said, when Dolly ran up, Lex was basically telling Dolly to pull Fauna's hair out and all this shit. So Fauna walked off. She was upset because Dolly had hit her in her nose. And she was like, they want me to be out of the game so bad, but they really didn't do shit. DTB was over here looking shocked. And then she gonna run over to Lex, Summer, and Dolly talking about, can I be on y'all side? Can I get adopted? And Summer said, we're not hiring. DTB pissed me off with that. I know she was probably joking, but girl, please. Summer was trying to get LCK and Rican to fight again. Girl, please. Rican and you need to be fighting again. So Fonda was in the back with Tavy and Rican, and she said her nose was bleeding, and this was her first time her nose ever bled from a fight. And she was mad. She was like, I'm not going out. My hair not done. And Tavy was like, girl, we get in the paint and we go out. Like, I'm not going to lie. Fauna never really had her face touched in a fight, clearly, to the point where, like, any damage was done. And now she don't want to go to the club. But it's people like Cole K, Rican, especially Tavy, who done had physical damage done to them throughout the season as newbies and still went out. So it's like, Fauna, stop being a prissy princess. You know what show you on. It's time to go outside. And you really didn't have to have that fight with Dolly or Lex if you didn't let Rolly get in your head about the noodle thing. Because it was, you could have simply said to Rolly, like, girl, that happened so long ago. I don't care about that no more. We done had beef about so many things after that. Why are we bringing back up the noodles? It's more reasons why she don't like Lex and Dolly than the old ass noodles that could have been brought up. So Tavy was definitely trying to have Fauna back in that moment. She said even though their relationship fluctuates, Fauna's going through something right now, so she's going to be there for her. And Tavy also said that she wasn't mad at how her fight with Lex went today. Then Fauna was holding her nose. She was saying her nose feel weird, and she was asking Tavy, is it big? And Tavy was like, girl, your nose looks regular. Give me the nose. And she kind of tried to kiss Fauna's nose. And Fauna was like, ew, bitch, and rubbed it off. And a lot of people gagged at that. You know, I think Tavy was coming from a genuine place, but I think Fauna just probably don't like people touching her face unless she's really, really close to you, which I'm kind of like that as well. Then back out here, Lex is asking Scotty why she's not checking on Dolly. She's supposed to be neutral, so she should be checking on both sides. And Scotty was in her confessional like, I don't even know why Lex is talking to me. So Pretty P got up and she was like, why Scotty and Lex keep going back and forth? I didn't even know y'all fought again after I left. And everybody was laughing because she just so lost in the sauce. Like, girl, you left mid-season and now you back at the very end. Lex still trying to press Scotty for this apology. Scotty said, I'm not giving you no apology. And Rolly was like, she don't have to give you one if she don't want to. And in her confessional, Rolly said, Scotty better not give Lex no apology or I'm going to fight her my damn self. Basically saying, like, Scotty a OG. Scotty could say what she want to say. And if Lex feel a way about it, oh well. But Scotty's not about to kiss her ass and apologize for it. Because like I've been telling y'all all season, when Rolly says something, Lex ain't got no problem. So from there, Scotty basically threw shade at Summer and was telling Lex, you act like I did something to you, like throw a bottle at you. That's a real principle. So Lex got mad and threw a drink at Scotty. So Scotty's like, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. And everybody was like, okay, so like, what's next? And Scotty was like, oh no, now she has to fight. Like just acting like she really wanted to fight Lex, but she really didn't. You know, Scotty be low-key calling out Fade sometimes and then don't really follow through with it and be like, oh, I just wanted to talk. I don't like that. But then Scotty ends up getting a drink and throwing it at Lex to return the favor. And Big Ant was so dramatic the way he jumped in front of Lex when Scotty threw the drink. So Lex claimed she ain't get hit by the drink at all. Big Ant got hit by it. So Scotty was like, really, Lex? You just threw a drink on me? And Lex was like, yeah, you ripped my wig. And Scotty was like, we already fought for that. And Lex was like, you can't tell me what we fought for or how many times I want to fight you. Then after that, Scotty turns to Dolly and she's like, yeah, and Dolly, you said you wanted to fight me. You said when your hand healed, you wanted to fight all of us except for Natalie and Rolly. So do you want to fight me? This is what I mean. Scotty calling out a fade with Dolly that Dolly is not even talking about. And she didn't directly ever say she wanted to fight Scotty. Like Scotty said, she said, when my hand heals, I'm fighting all of y'all except for Rolly and Natalie. So for you to bring that back up right now, you must want to fight. But then when Dolly wants to fight Scotty, Scotty don't want to fight. She's talking about, I just want to talk. And Dolly said, I said I didn't want to fight Rolly and Natalie and everybody else could get it. I was talking about them hoes, Scotty invisible. But since she want to check me, she could get that. So basically it was like, girl, ain't nobody thinking about you. But if you want that, you could get it. That's what I'm saying. It's like, Scotty, why bring it up if you really don't want that? And then at some point, I feel like Scotty was low-key trying to get everybody to jump on her side because she was like, yeah, she didn't just say she wanted to fight me. She said she wanted to fight all 8 of us. So Dolly trying to run around the table, trying to throw stuff, trying to get at Scotty. Security is not letting her get to Scotty. And Scotty's like, oh, why y'all won't let her through? Like, Scotty, you know why they won't let her through. Because they don't protect nobody else like this. The only people who people have a hard time getting to is Scotty and Natalie. So Tavy and Fauna eventually came back out, and Pretty P obviously was in the room the whole time. Pretty P and Tavy in their confessional was like, "Oh, why Dolly trying to fight Scotty?" Scotty called Dolly out. Then Summer was telling somebody she still want that with them and she gonna beat their ass. I don't even know who she was talking to. I'm assuming Cole K or K Rican. And Scotty in the back talking about if I can't fight, then Summer can't fight. Scotty, please. If you wanted to fight, you could fight. They not letting Dolly get to you, not the other way around. From there, Rolly is out front with Tavy, Fauna, and K Rican, and she's basically, just talking to them, giving them game as always. Fauna don't really like how the conversation is going, and I feel like Tavy and Rolly might have got into something that was cut out of the camera because Rolly basically said to Tavy, "I'm not going to fight you over a comment." So Tavy must have said something that Rolly didn't like. They must have went back and forth a little bit, and we didn't see it. But overall, Rolly was just telling Tavy she needs to stop fighting. Look at her hands. She's never going to be able to heal. Kind of the same talk she had with Dolly when she was telling Dolly to give Tavy her chain back. You already proved yourself. You have nothing left to prove. Let your hand heal. Stop fighting these girls every day. And Tavy said, she's not fighting to prove herself. She's fighting because that's just how she is. If somebody come at her, she's ready to fight, and that's how she is in real life. So like I said, Fauna said she didn't like how the conversation was going. She seemed a little irritated with Rolly. I think she was irritated because Rolly had brought the noodles back up and she ended up getting into it with Dolly and Lex. But like I said, you didn't have to let what Rolly said cause you to fight. And that's what Rolly was basically saying. I didn't push you out there to fight. I just brought up everything that's happened this season and was asking everybody to address their beefs. Do you still have a problem with this person because of this, that, and the third? So Natalie comes walking in with Amber Rose late as hell. Everybody like, "Girl, Natalie, where you been?" And Natalie was saying how they were supposed to go out on stage tonight, but she heard the girls have been fighting, so now they can't go. And basically just asking what's going on. Cole K was basically saying, "I'm still on that with Summer because I got hit with a bottle last night." Natalie gonna say, "Oh, when did you get hit with a bottle? Who got hit with a bottle?" Like, girl, did you not see the bottles getting thrown at the club at the beginning of the episode and you was yelling, telling them to stop embarrassing you in front of billionaires? Why she always acting like she don't know what happened? Why she always act more clueless than she actually is? Same thing I'm talking about. Scotty gonna say, "Oh, Natalie walked in and she looked good, but I don't think she know what she walking into." Why are you giving her so much benefit of the doubt to be clueless? She knows exactly what she's walking into. She wants this chaos. She wants this drama, and you should know that by now, Scotty. But anyway, Natalie turned to Rolly. She saw Rolly's hair. She was telling Rolly she looked good. And then we hear another fight breaking out in the back. I think Dolly was trying to get to Scotty and Summer was trying to get to somebody. And the episode ended there. For episode 21 of Baddies Africa, my most valuable OG is Rolly. My least valuable OG is Natalie. My most valuable newbies are Cold Killer and Tavy. My least valuable newbies are Elsie and Latina. My least valuable new G is Summer. And my most valuable new G is Dolly. So that's my Baddies Africa episode 21 review/recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. I'll see y'all later. Bye.